All right, good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order, and we will start with the board roll call. Donetta Roberts, Ted Gibbs, no Martin Poor, no Gary Gilbert, Jeremiah Burns, Isaac Akia, I see you, Isaac. Humberto Ramos, Teresa Shield,
Here.
Andrea Velasquez, Michael Saldana. Welcome, you two. Glad to have you all here. Mark Davis.
Here.
Brandon Rohan's here. Mark Gilbert is not. Ms. Gonzalez. Sherry McDaniel. Nick Sherman. No Stephen Fonville. No James Forcell. Doris Stubing. Mabel Vaughn. Keith Steffen. And then we have a vacancy on Springs Hill still. Okay, with that, we do have a quorum. And we'll move on to item 3 and begin with an invocation. Okay, have we gotten a resolution in for it? Okay. Yes
No,
or
we
no?
have not.
No resolution?
No.
Okay. I'll need a new statement of office or an oath of office. That way he can participate tonight. Okay, now we will go to the invocation, item 3.
Bow your heads, please. Father, we come before your throne and we praise you and we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We ask you to be with those that cannot be here, whether they be sick or traveling. We ask you to watch over them and guide them. We ask your blessings upon these proceedings tonight. May the decisions here be made with wisdom and be best for the group. Watch over us, guide us, and forgive us of our sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I've already provided the oath of office and statement of office here to Crystal Clear's 2 new trustees. If y'all bear with me just a second, I'll get a document in front of me to read off of, and we'll do your oath real quick. That way you're able to participate in the meeting. Okay, sir, I'm going to read the oath of office and statement of officer for you. I'll do the oath of office first, and all I need you to do at the end is say, I do. We're not getting married. You missed my joke earlier, so I have to say it again, but I'll read it for you, okay, if that's all right with you. Okay? So in the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of trustee of Keenan Regional Water Authority of the state of Texas and will, to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God? Thank you, sir. Now we'll do the statement of officer. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election at which you were elected, or as a reward to secure your appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help you God? Thank you, sir. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, announcements. I'll give you these papers to fill out here in a little bit, and staff will collect them from you. The Board of Trustees of the Keenan Regional Water Authority may during the meeting close the meeting and hold an executive session pursuant to and in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The Board of Trustees may at any time during the meeting close the meeting and hold an executive session for consultation with its attorneys concerning any of the matters to be considered during the meeting pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. I have one announcement. My youngest daughter turned 4 today. So she had her fourth birthday today. And my oldest daughter is Friday, the 13th. So are there any other announcements? Thank you. That was a subtle hint to go quickly. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 6, public comments. Comments on non-agenda items. There'll be no discussion from the board and a 3-minute time limit. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to item 6B, comments on specific items on the agenda. The discussion can occur with the board, 3-minute time limit per citizen, and that time can't be shared or ceded. Is there anyone here to have public comment on a specific item on the agenda? Not seeing or hearing any. We'll move on to item 7, consent items. Item 7A, CRWA Resolution 260201 concerning approval of the minutes for the January 12, 2026 Board of Trustee meeting, and item 7B concerning the approval of the financial and check registers for January 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 7A and B.
Thank you. Second. I have a second from Ms. Shield. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 8, reports. Water supply, facility operations, and capital projects. This is discussion on the current drought conditions, wholesale water supply status, water treatment, storage and transmission operations, current and near-term capital improvement projects. And I'll turn this over to staff.
And so just in reaction to feedback that I've gotten that there's not a lot of awareness of what staff is working on. So I'm going to start having staff give some of these reports in this section so that everybody is kind of aware of what's going on and what's, high level on their plates right now. Mr. Telfer, can you kick us off? And being mindful of time, I've asked them each to limit their time to 5 minutes. So
That was a perfect opportunity to say 15, 20, or 30 minutes.
When it comes to the drought report, I don't have a whole lot to add, but just might want to note that there was about 2.5 inches of rain up above Kerrville this last month. It did add to the lake some, but not enough for it to begin gaining. Operations, we're pretty much on par with where we were last year. We just produced a little bit more in January out of the Wells Ranch treatment plant than we have in the past in January. As far as the drought report go and the operations report, are there any questions or comments?
Adam, I have a question. I'm assuming you're talking about slides, I guess pages 44, 43, 45. Is that what you're speaking of, or is someone else going to speak on that?
Second, let me get there.
The question I have, if it's not you, maybe Mr. McMullen can speak on this. I'm trying to figure out these numbers. On 43, where you have Lake Dunlap raw water trend, you have 679, Wells Ranch, you have 982. When you combine those, that's 1661, and Hayes Caldwell 170. So when you go to the next page, 44, you look at Hayes Caldwell, and it's 163.95. So there's a difference of 6 feet, 6 acre feet. Yeah, it's not a big problem. But when you look at Wells Ranch and Lake Dunlap, there's a difference of 46.76 feet. So why are these numbers different?
Yeah, so the difference between this is on the trending, this is the raw water trend. So I'm not for sure what page it is in the pamphlet, but when you look at the trending, go ahead and scroll down a little bit.
43.
Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep going. Oh, go up towards the top. I'm sorry, I can't see it very well from here. Yeah, right here on this page. What this trending is raw water trend. So this is the water that we pump out of the river, or we pump out of the aquifers. And what happens between here and the pages down below, are numbers of water that we've sold to the entities. There's a lot that's happened between when we pump it out of the river and then when we sell it. There's water that's used in production that I don't have those numbers in here. And then there's water loss that happens in the pipeline when we pump it out. So that's where the difference is coming from. It's from the water that's used in production and the water loss that happens in the pipeline.
All right, thank you.
Adam, what's a good rule of thumb for the water loss at a surface water treatment plant in the production losses?
A good rule of thumb is less than 10% on water loss. We generally keep all of our plants at less than 10%. It's been riding right around 3%.
I can see where there's water loss, but I think when you look at the Wells Ranch group, not that I'm a Wells Ranch group or Lake Dunlap group, but it's showing 1614. And based on calculations, it's 1661. So a difference of 46. We can talk offline about that. I'll just,
Yeah.
like I was adding these numbers up because it's the first of the month. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the first month and I wanted to see how this was in effect, but basically just a question. These numbers aren't jiving for me.
Well, and
We
it's,
can talk offline. I don't need to be.
Okay.
yeah, and it's not a problem actually to put together something that actually shows what water has been used from the time that we pump it out of the raw source to the time that it reaches the different utilities.
Thank you.
Other questions for Adam? Are you done, Adam? I didn't mean to rush you if you're not.
No, I just wanted to give an update on the compliance front and what's going on there. So over the last month, we do send a report out to GBRA. Actually, it's a report on the water that's going to be used in and out of the basin for this next year. And we have to send that to GBRA every month, or I mean, every year in January. So they basically know what we're going to use in and out of the GBRA basin or GBRA area. And then also we're updating and reporting on our Tier 2 chemical program. For those of you that are in utilities, you know that the Tier 2 chemical reporting is due by March 1st. Another thing that we're working on is the Texas Water Development Board Water Use Survey. That is due March 1st as well. Something that we've been working on here with Chelsea and Water Resources is bin reclassification efforts. They're ongoing. We're continuing to work on that, gathering information. Also been working on the asset management program. That's also coupled with our GIS program. We're working with a software called Brightly, and they have kind of a sub software, I guess you would call it. It's called Confirm. So we're putting that together. And then over the last 3 months, we did do a Hayes Caldwell membrane pilots. And so right now, the information from those pilots is underneath review with Kenya Regional and Ardura. Expected to go to TCQ the last week of February. And then TCQ will be under review for approximately 90 days for the pilots. And then also doing water rights reporting. That's something that I do monthly. However, this year is a little bit different with TCQ. They're kind of being a little bit more meticulous on how water rights are reported. That's declarations and diversions. So they want more exact numbers. So I've been working with TCQ on doing those. And then other things we've been working on are we had a TCQ membrane evaluation at the Hayes Caldwell plant January 20th, and been talking with TCQ about that. We expect to get their report back soon. We'll be able to see from that report if what we need to do to bring that #1 trailer into compliance. It'll also help us get that #2 trailer online. So are there any questions about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the email or whatever you sent to GBRA where you can forward it to trustees? Only because my city manager was asking about something from GBRA today. So it'd be helpful to have something from CRWA to provide to him.
Oh, you bet. Yeah. I have the original email that I sent to him this last month. And then also in the board packet, there was a first month of reporting on, what water went where in the basin. But yeah, I can send that out. You bet. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, ma'am.
The two reports that are due on March 1st, are we going to get presentations on those?
Yes, I can give a presentation on those.
And then also the pilot study report, is construction committee going to be seeing that at the end of February?
They should be seeing it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Adam? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Now it is. How you doing? I'm David. I'm the operations manager here, if y'all don't know me. I'm gonna give just some quick updates on a couple of things. Out at Wells Ranch, well 1, I know everybody's curious about that. It's been down since 1st April. It's under review March the 7th at TCEQ. They'll give us a yes or no on that day. And then from there, we'll move forward, whichever way they decide to go. It should be the same because the exact same, duplicating what was out there already. Nothing's changed at all, except for move forward a little bit. Well 3, it's down. Pretty much everything downhole was ruined. The parts were supposed to be in here Friday. They did not make it. They have not made it as of about 4:30 this afternoon, but they're expected during shipment somewhere here coming into Dallas. The stuff will be put together there, and as soon as it's put together, they'll come out here and we'll get that rig back up and going, that well going, and then that's going to help Bobby out on some of the 2 and 14 wells because we got to take them down. We just can't take them down until we get some more wells up here. We're running wide open out there. Sometimes either Dunlap or Wells Ranch is just wide open. Always something. There's leaks. We've had quite a few leaks here lately. We actually have a leak underneath raw water tank number 1 out at Wells Ranch right now. Don't know exactly what it's going to be. Hoping it's something easy, but who knows till we get in there and go to digging. But we also have a leak out on I-10 that we're going to start on tomorrow too, on another 24-inch out there on the cross-country line. So anyhow, that's kind of update on Wells Ranch. If anybody's got any questions on it about anything. Okay, Hayes Caldwell, we're working on the quotes for the far 3rd trailer over there. We're kind of waiting to see what comes out of the pilot study to actually know how many cartridges are going to be in there, what these units are going to actually be able to produce, and see where we're at there. We did hit like a 2.06 already this year out there for a high. That's getting close. 2.7, 2.8 is kind of the max out there at that plant. And that's going to depend on what TCQ comes up with on these trailers, because it looks like there's going to be a lot of extra downtime during our testing each day on them. We'll have to shut a whole trailer down instead of half at a time. So that could affect overall what we can produce out there. We also had one of the big main breakers that went out there, and we're replacing it tomorrow. I notified everybody that we're going to have an outage out there for hopefully about 4 hours. We already took the breaker out and we got it kind of bypassed, and hopefully it'll go in a lot smoother. It won't fit through the cabinets doors, so we got to take it apart to get it in there. Anybody got any questions there? Hayes Caldwell? Lake Dunlap. Both of our clarifiers quit here a couple of weeks ago. Both of them quit at the same time. More than likely, one of them was already messing up, and we just didn't catch it. You couldn't see it down below the water. One of the rakes wasn't turning the speed it was supposed to be. So we blew up both clarifiers, and that did make us waste quite a bit of extra water here at Wells Ranch, or at Dunlap this time. Our turbidity got really high on us, but nobody ran out of water. Everybody stayed in good. We wasn't nowhere near running out, but the parts are obsolete. They're 96 models, and you can't get them no more. I found one new piece that we had back here in a junk pile and one used piece, and we was able to get both of them going again the same day. I've got one part supposedly located in Dallas, but we have not been able to get our hands on it. If anything else goes, we're pretty bad shape on that. So we're getting quotes on what it's going to take to replace that part of it. The main gears down below all looked great. Amazing how good they looked, but it's all the top drives and gearboxes and stuff up on top that goes down and turns the shafts going down is what is gone. And they're manually speed adjust, where now they don't have that, use the VFDs on the motors and stuff. So that's one of the big things here. The clarifiers are pretty much running wide open. Temperature changing, we're having problems again. We had them blow up again last night, but just one of them. Who knows why, but it happened. Go ahead.
So I have a question. So we were sent out an organizational chart earlier today. And under the Hayes Caldwell, there's 2 open positions. Under the Wells Ranch, there's a single open position, and the Lake Dunlap looks fully staffed. Do you have enough bodies to maintain these different facilities, or are the open positions affecting, these failures? Are we missing maintenance?
Sure.
Are we able to keep up with everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's, most days you work 24/7. I mean, somebody's working. I mean, you don't go sit down. I mean, you work. Everybody's working. Everybody's busy. And some days you might get something that's a little slower. And but no, there's never a idle moment at any facilities. There's always work to be done, maintenance to be done, everywhere. I mean, we could work 24/7, 365 days a week with what we have and still couldn't keep up with stuff. A lot of this stuff, you have to shut it down to do maintenance on. Well, you can't shut stuff down when you're running wide open. These clarifiers, they hadn't been checked. I will tell you that. It's probably been a year since anybody had checked down in there, but you wouldn't have known it on what went out on them. Everything was full of oil and everything, but there's friction rings in there that they didn't even look like what they're supposed to look like. They were that far gone.
Nick, during the Board of Managers meeting, we took a tour of Lake Dunlap, and one of the things that both Carrie and Joe at the plant identified as a need for more bodies. So that's something I think hopefully we'll run through the Board of Managers and maybe bring up to the Budget Committee, because that was one of the comments made while we were there on that tour. Carrie, I don't want to speak for you, but that was one of your comments.
Echoing Joe, I asked him to repeat it, but he said he would like to add 2 more positions to Lake Dunlap. We're fully staffed for the positions that we have. But I will add to that if we can change our bin classification, that frees up, 6 to 8 hours a day for a person. So that'll help also if we can get that changed.
Yeah, like right now, just so y'all know, that when summer gets going, them pre-filters have to be manually cleaned by hand every day. The ponds have got to be cleaned once a week. That's a fire hose out there all day, spraying water, trying to wash it out. That's a stuff that's above and beyond what we do normally. You constantly have valves that are having to be changed on these stages, or actuators, or sensors, or it's nonstop all the time on all this stuff. The ozone back here, you could have one person worked on ozone 5 days a week. There's always something wrong with some of the generators. They last so long, and then boom, you get a leak in there, and it goes south quick. So
You mean the ozone generators?
Correct, ozone generators. There's 5 of them back there. At one point, this winter, we were down to only 2 of them actually working. We had 3 completely down. Very, very time consuming. Each one of them generators have got 48 units in it. You have to take it apart and clean it with littler than a toothbrush. I mean, it's a real job, chore to do it. You got to change all the O-rings and everything in it. We actually hired some people to come in because we didn't have enough time. You know, we just kept getting down. You'd lose another one. And finally we brought in people. We spent probably $100,000 back there on them generators, just getting them up and going, get ready for the summer.
I'd like to interrupt.
Yeah.
To go back to Nicholas's comment and also the comment up here. I think what's important is if we all understand, I guess, with some of these presentations, what percent of the water treatment plant is being used. For instance, Hayes Caldwell, because County Line is not taking a lot of water, it's reduced a lot. And so therefore you have some of these positions that don't need to be filled. I guess what I'm advocating is before we start filling some of these positions, I think the entities need to see how much of that facility is being used. Again, going back to my point, Hayes Caldwell, 2 open positions. I don't anticipate that being used anytime soon. I'm hoping we can get everything straightened out. At some point, I will take 100% of my water. Right now, I'm supplementing with other agreements that I have. And that's been helpful to Canyon Region with what we're doing.
Sure it has, because we couldn't have produced your water. There's no way possible. And so I will tell you one thing at Hayes Caldwell, you're running 3 different systems right there right now. You got the Coke system, and then you're going to have the other 2 trailers. They all operate separately. Takes a lot of time on doing your DITs and stuff every day. Somebody in there manually watching it. We will have to start cleaning the pre-filters over there. They're a lot worse over there than they are here to clean. You got to take them out backwards, so you actually have to take them apart in a lot more pieces because somebody built a wall on the other end where they're actually supposed to come apart for some reason. But, you know, there's only 2 guys over there. So that means
And that was gonna be my question is whether,
you're
because
on
that
call
means they're on call 50%, right? So
50%
26 out
of
of
the
the year,
time.
26 weeks out of the year,
Yeah.
they're on call.
And that means that Archie, especially, is probably way more than that because he's also having to watch these alarms and stuff until everybody gets used to it. It doesn't matter how much experience you have in a surface water plant, you go to a new one, it's different. They don't operate the same. There's no 2 of them the same. What you saw at one plant and you go across the highway, we got a prime example over there right now that it's a whole different situation. We operate differently. We have different equipment than other people do and stuff. Now we're going to bring the ozone in. Yeah, I know, Humberto, it's more money, but I don't know what we do on that. We're getting by. I mean, we're going to keep trying. Just so y'all know that. Also, we got developers. We got 1 on 1604, 2 on Union Wine, 1 on 1966, 3 on Lower Seguin, 2 on 758, 1 over here outside of Marion. Then we got the City of Shirt stuff. All this stuff our water line's in the way of. And we're dealing with them, trying to figure out where we're going to move it to, how we're going to do it, if we can move it. Some of it's in easement, some of it's in highway right away. Eats up lots of time.
Yeah.
Lots of times, even if you're in easement, that doesn't mean that there's another route to get there. Some of it, we have some issues right now on 1 on 1604 where that we have an easement, Sauls has an easement, and then Sauls is getting a second line in that same easement, and then they're fixing to widen the highway. And they're building it all up. There's nowhere to go. You know, maybe down, I don't know. So a lot of issues going on out there. So then just as far as the freeze went, we didn't have any major issues. We had some small things that froze. That's normal. Working on CIP projects, mainly focusing on what we need to try to get done next year, try to keep these plants going and stuff. And, you know, like I said, just trying to figure out where we could move lines to or what we can do. But there will be some lines in the future that will have to be moved at our expenses. So, because they're in the right of way. Anybody got any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Moved at our expense when it's like a tech stop project or a city of San Antonio project. And if they're wanting to widen the roads, why are we having to pay?
If we're already in the right of way, most of the time you'll end up paying to relocate. Sometimes depending on
Okay.
the funding, for state projects, if they're federally funded, you can get reimbursed to some extent. But when you're in an easement,
Okay.
typically
All
you'll
right.
get those costs reimbursed.
Okay.
But in areas where you're not, and you're just in city or county right of way, typically you're going to pay to move those out of the way if they want to widen the road.
And a lot of the times you don't find out till they gave the stuff away 2 years prior. And
Right.
then you find out, oh, we're in a private easement, and all of a sudden they gave away 60 foot of frontage. And there's houses built after that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, I
you
understand.
got to
that
figure
part.
out a way to get it around and get it tied back in and keep everybody going.
Yeah, no, I understand that part.
Yeah.
I was just curious as to why we would have to pay when it's,
Well, we have some that are actually out in the highway itself, highway right away. There's not in a private easement, so.
okay,
Yeah, areas where you cross to,
right, and that I do understand. It's just,
It's only going to get worse for all of our areas. All of our areas were rural and they're now slowly urbanizing. So it's
yeah,
just going
no,
to be.
believe me. I come from Kyle.
Any other questions for David? Thank you, sir.
All righty.
One more under this section. Mr. Rodriguez, you want to?
Good day, everybody. My name is Bobby, PM here. Just going to go down the list, start off with Lake Dunlop. On the strainer project, right now we're putting up the temporary supports for the pipe. That's in progress right now. And then they'll start installing the HDP here pretty soon. Any questions on that one? All right. Going to go down to the emergency generator project. Pads have been poured for a while. Part of the schedule is they will get back on gear, waiting for electrical gear in March, right around time. So it's getting close. So we should be verifying equipment here pretty soon, and then we'll get back on the wagon and get that one going there.
Bobby, I've got a question that you probably can't answer, and it's okay. I don't need you to answer, but maybe you can get the information for the construction committee meeting here in a few weeks. I think I saw in STV's part of our packet a mention of a no-cost change order to extend time due to those electrical delays. Not a major thing.
Yep.
We understand electrical delays, but it says we've already executed that, but I don't know I know we haven't seen it here on the trustee level. And so we may just want to look at that and see if we need to bring it here to get ratified.
That would be on a different project, 2 and 14.
Oh, I'm sorry. I may keep,
Not a
I
problem.
may have been getting those switched on you a couple times.
Yeah,
now,
not a
but-
problem. No, and I'll address that when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on Wells Ranch Emergency Generator Project? We'll go and address the Wells Ranch 2 and 14. We're working with operations for shutdown. We're gonna need to coordinate some shutdown time to get to well number 2. And then after we get, the days situated, we'll finish that work up and then go to well 14. That one does have the delay. We are experiencing some time with GBEC, getting some things worked out, which was unaccounted for. So I do have a change order for days on that. Okay. We'll jump back up to Hayes Caldwell, Phase 1. We are in the midst of wrapping that one up. It's taking a little while, but we're hoping to get that one buttoned up here in the next couple of weeks. Any questions on that one? I do want to address that there was a question brought up, I guess, last meeting about the days. The days attributed to going past the original completion date. We had 36 days of accounted for downtime. There were some delays in there due to RFI changes and questioning of fence locations, electrical duct routes, and gates. That doesn't account for all of it. But it's a lesson learned with this project is this general contractor was not geared up to be a general contractor. So it is a lot of delays due to general contractor neglect, I think. So any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Any questions for Bobby? That it, sir?
No,
All
sir,
right.
we've got one more.
Oh, go ahead.
We've got two more. Hayes Caldwell Phase 2. Right now, they're stuck adding some ductile iron pipe and some duct banks, and they're doing the roof work on the electrical building right now. And then we'll jump into Reedville. The tines were completed last week, and this week we were going through with the flushing, chlorinating, and all that good stuff on that project. So hopefully get that wrapped up here in the next 2 weeks as well. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it for item 8A.
It is.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8B, External Affairs, Regional Planning and Administrative Reports. This is discussion on regional partnerships, regulatory agencies, groundwater districts, regional water planning, long-term capital improvements, legal and legislative matters.
I'm gonna have Ms. Hawkins give some updates on that.
All right, well, in 5 minutes, I'm not going to get through all of it, but I'll get through the highlight reel. I guess for the last several weeks, I've been really focusing on groundwater leases in a number of ways. In one area of the groundwater projects is looking through all of the leases to understand some of the provisions that CRWA needs to be prepared for. Including things like mitigation requests, which we're seeing an increasing number of, not a staggering number, but more than we have historically. Another component of this is goes to language that appears in our leases concerning lessors wanting to drill new wells and the requirements around that. So I've been working largely with David to understand all of the different pieces of information that we need to have looked at, collected. We've built some forms, we've built some internal policy documents and procedure documents so that we can be consistent in how we treat these different kinds of requests. Hannah has been very gracious in her time in helping me get some of this information posted to our website so that we can answer questions that we're getting on a recurring basis. Also working with Carrie and Joan on some of the policy components, and certainly our wonderful external counsel who's been guiding us through some of the nuances of the language to make sure that we're not in conflict with anything or presenting anything incorrectly. So those are just two examples of lease terms that we did not have, really any kind of guidance or protocol for. And I feel like we've come a long way. Probably the larger time spend when it comes to groundwater leases has been mapping all of the leased parcels that we have, both permitted and unpermitted. Ultimately, once it's clean and final, that will become one of the GIS layers that we can use in the GIS program that Adam is working really hard to get stood up over the next few months. And Michaela, if you could help me by showing, this is just a draft version. It does need some cleanup. I'm working with RW Hardin to do that. But ultimately what this map will show when it's all done will be essentially like the 4 different categories of lease types we have. Is it all groundwater, Carrizo with right of first refusal on Wilcox, so on and so forth. It will more clearly indicate which of the parcels are already under lease. Once this is all organized, the next steps will be looking at ways that we can answer the question that's been coming up recently about, are there any leases that we no longer need to carry? What the financial savings could be associated with that. But there is also some analysis that, can you scroll down? I don't think that's the whole map. There is some analysis that I'm doing to look at the potential for, go down. Thank you. This cluster right here. And there will also be another step where I'm looking at, in a lot of detail, which parcels are associated with which lease and what that means for potentially offloading them. For example, I believe this this little cluster right here is under the same lease as this cluster. So we have to be mindful about what we might decide we no longer need and what that actually means for how we would go about this. So that's been the bulk of my time spent for the last few months, but we've made a lot of progress, and I'm hopeful to have a finalized version of this in the next few weeks. On the legislative affairs front, tomorrow there is a hearing taking place with the House Natural Resources Committee. It is being sponsored, if you will, by Cody Harris. It is not related to interim charges. Those were actually supposed to be released today. I've been watching the news and in touch with our legislative affairs consultant, but they have not been released. The invited testimony list, I'm hoping I'll get a copy later tonight or tomorrow. But although this is largely viewed really as a political hearing and not related to interim charges, we are fully expecting that groundwater will be a hot topic, that there will be more hearings like this, probably hosted all around the state to hear from different communities. So still paying quite a bit of attention to what comes out of this tomorrow. Adam already mentioned we are still working on the bin 2 reclassification project and assembling a lot of information to make a good case to take to TCEQ and potentially some of our legislative delegation if required. Looking at our enabling legislation, I think we have a timeline now for that for the subcommittee working on this. Focused Advocacy is working now to try and tee up some in-person introductions for CRWA staff coming this spring. And they will also be here in person to present on work and other updates at the April 13th board meeting. So you'll see them in person very soon. On the district front, I hate to say this, it's a little bit a nice, easy, slow start to the year so far. Evergreen District has mentioned recently that they're going to be focused on revisiting their brackish rules. So that's something we'll be on the lookout for more information about. Let's see, Gonzales County, we're still awaiting a response to letters that exporters, all of the exporters collectively or individually provided to the district concerning some of the rule changes in the way in which the district is interpreting their authority and abilities to modify how they use some of the funds. Carrie, myself, and Trish Erlinger, who's another outside counsel that we use, all attended a workshop on this topic. It was constructive, but without resolution. So I'm still very curious to see how this pans out and if there'll be another workshop or any more conversation about it. And I think things are all quiet in Guadalupe for the time being. GMA 13 has its next meeting this Friday. There was no January meeting for that group. There will be a lot of discussion on House Bill 2078 and its implications for how DFCs are tracked, monitored, reported on over time. So I'll be paying a lot of attention to what comes out of that meeting, and I'll be attending that in person as well. And Region L, I certainly deferred to one of our trustees who has more insight than I, but they are in the early stages of the latest planning cycle. They're working to fill 4 vacancies for the planning group in ag, small business, and environmental to make sure that's well represented. I don't think efforts will start in earnest in planning until this fall. Right now, they're just trying to get contracts in order. So that's it for me. I don't know if I made 5 minutes, but I tried.
Questions? Thank you.
And then I just have a few notes to add. Administrative, the new controller will begin a week from today a week from tomorrow, February 17th. The portable building is set. If you come from that way, you might not have seen it. The only thing we were waiting on, and believe they're coming this week, Regina, to tomorrow for the ramp. The ramp that they installed is not ADA compliant, and before I can take occupation of that building, it must be. So they're coming tomorrow to do that, and after that, we can start, putting staff in that building. Another thing, Ms. Hannah Diaz completed a contract development training course and passed the exam and is a certified Texas contract developer now. She's going to be continuing some education to get some more certifications so that we are making sure we're compliant with all the state guidelines and regulations. There's a couple things here and there that we've been doing wrong that now we'll start doing correctly. But we just, with some of the contracts especially coming and we're having more of them, we really need to make sure we have somebody that's knowledgeable in that. So congratulations, Hannah. The Hayes Caldwell Water Treatment Plant, we're waiting right now until we get more information on pricing, but we want to schedule a meeting with the participating members so that we can talk some more about a third mobile membrane unit and how that could be funded. So look for that invite. Doodle poll coming very soon on that.
Can you say very soon, February, March, or April?
I would like to have that meeting before the end of this month.
Okay.
So we can get a plan, as soon as possible together.
Just let us know so we can get it on our schedules.
Will do. I look for a doodle poll from Michaela to look for a good time to schedule that. Wells Ranch, we have that active RFQ out right now for owner's advisor for a P3 agreement. We did extend, we had this submittal due date on President's Day. We went ahead and extended it until the end of the week that week to give the consultants a few more days. We are still tracking to come to the board for approval of a recommended firm at the April meeting. Alliance Regional Water Authority, I am part of the litigation committee regarding the issues with the water treatment plant and the deficiencies. That coordination is ongoing. I can't share any details information right now. I will tell you that, we have legal counsel engaged. They're working on coordination with expert consultants to review and provide opinion and advisement. And so that is ongoing. Anything to add on that, Graham? No. Okay.
Which one are you?
That's Alliance Regional Water Authority on the front page. Also, there is a CMAR engaged for the water treatment plant expansion. They gave their first cost estimates, various levels of accuracy from level 4 down to level 2. But their cost estimate is approximately 77% above the early projected cost estimates. And we're talking 270 million versus 150 million. So there's a lot of deliberation over that, a lot of concern obviously with those costs. There were some presentations on that, and I felt like there was some mixed feedback. On one hand, I felt like they were saying, well, we think that's going to go down, but then the CMAR was saying, well, it probably won't go down a lot. So we did receive a letter from GBRA expressing their concerns and also expressing their concerns with going forward with the construction manager at risk delivery method. So, our next board meeting is on the 25th of this month. At the latest then, if not beforehand, we'll be having a lot of discussion on how we're going to move forward on that.
I'll jump in and add, I believe we were going to discuss that in the technical committee meeting, which is Wednesday of this week, and I'm on that committee. So I'm eager to hear more about that and how our response will be crafted to that letter. Yeah.
The only thing I have left is I jotted the calendar items, some of the meetings that I've attended. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably the one that's most noticeable is the mitigation workshop at the Gonzales Groundwater District. There are some potential responsibilities that they'd like to put on the exporters that we are adamantly against. And so, there were no real decisions made, but we'll keep fighting the good fight and try not to spend any money that we shouldn't be spending on mitigation. And really, that's about the most noticeable. I did go to the City of Converse City Council meeting last week. That was a good meeting to attend. Nothing Canyon Regional related on that agenda. But I will be, reaching out to trustee members to let you know when I intend to attend your board or council meetings moving forward. And then the last one that is very notable is we did meet with Hilmar Bloomberg and his attorney to execute the amendment to the water lease agreement. We handed out hard copies that didn't go in your packet because we hadn't signed it yet. But we did pass out the hard copies. The participating members are aware of the terms and agreed with the terms. And so there's an agenda item tonight. If you'll recall, we got approval last month to move forward with it. There's an agenda item tonight for ratification of that, execution of that amendment. And that's all the notes that I have.
Gary,
Yes, ma'am.
would you elaborate on your January 28th meeting with Freshwater Texas and expanding?
I will. I was approached a few weeks ago about a gentleman with Freshwater Texas. His name is Gary Ballard. And he has an idea and is very aggressively pursuing this project to build a marine desal project. There's some, and I'm under an NDA on some of this, there's some new technology involved, but they are planning on a zero liquid discharge into the Gulf of America. And also have an idea for low energy costs that'll get them, they're projecting to be able to produce, treated water for $3 a thousand gallons right now. He has approached Canyon Regional and has asked if we're interested in managing this infrastructure. And so I've been with them. I went to Texas A&M Kingsville last week to meet with them. And Texas A&M Kingsville is very much on board with this and supporting the research. They're actually willing to donate property for a research facility. This is a very aggressive project. He wants to, they intend to produce 2 facilities, each producing 700,000 cubic meters a day, which is equivalent to just under 185 million gallons a day. He's been meeting with state and federal legislators and has a lot of support for this. He's working on getting a lot of funding for it, state and federal level funding, including grant funding. It's very early in the project yet, but I'm always the optimist. I'm very optimistic. If this is feasible, it'll be very beneficial to not only Canyon Regional and our member entities, but potentially to this entire region and other regions of the state. So right now, I'm not saying no to anything. I'm not being asked to commit to anything. When Mr. Ballard gets a little further along in his planning, I will ask him to come and give a presentation to the board to get your feedback and see if it's something that we want to pursue.
Other questions for Carrie?
Gary, I have a question. I appreciate your staff speaking this afternoon, this evening. When can we expect a new comptroller and new assistant general manager to speak before us?
I guess the answer is I can have them speak at the next meeting if you like.
If there's something to speak about.
Certainly, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Legal and legislative. Your turns.
Anything, Craig? Sure. I'll take the first step. So let me give you an update on the 3 lawsuits that we're actively engaged in. The first is the Windsor Chase lawsuit. As I previously reported, that case is currently up on appeal. What's specifically being appealed is the court's denial of one of the 4 components of CRWA's motion to dismiss Windsor Chase's counterclaim on a jurisdictional argument. Our brief was due today. It was filed on Friday. The briefing work is largely being handled by the appellate section of Rubin's law firm. As the trial counsel, I've also been involved in that, did some red line edits to the brief. I think we put together a pretty solid brief ahead of the deadline. The other side requested today and received from our appellate counsel an extension to file their cross brief. Once those briefs are submitted to the court, these days, the Fourth Court of Appeals has taken about 6 to 7 months to give us a ruling. So again, the only matter that's before them at this point is whether or not the dismissal of the counterclaim was appropriate, whether the court should have dismissed all aspects of the counterclaim instead of the 3 out of 4, which is what she did. And so while that appeal is pending, there's essentially an abatement in the trial court. So the status quo will be preserved. That status quo is the temporary injunction against the use of any of those wells that are the subject of our complaint. Any questions on that? With respect to the San Marcos lawsuit, we have exchanged CRWA's proposed settlement documents with the attorneys for the city. Ruben and I had a lengthy Zoom meeting with the city's attorneys. We were told that approval of the settlement agreement would be actually on the last couple of agendas for the city council. When it was not on there, we approached the legal counsel, to inquire about the problem. They're wrestling with some of the concepts that are part of the settlement proposal. The dollar figures are to their liking. Lawyers are risk averse, and they're trying to ensure that there's zero risk of the city being dragged back into a dispute that might exist between and among Canyon Regional and the participating members. And so we're helping them to better understand the risks and to try to mitigate the risks to the extent that we can. But that's an ongoing and active dialogue. We still are optimistic about it. So fair to say. Any questions about that one?
Trey, I believe at the last meeting, I think Maxwell had asked for some numbers. Were you able to get those numbers to everybody with regards to how this $5.5 million was going to be used or dispersed, or where this money was coming from? Did you give that information to?
Yeah.
Can you use your mic, please? It's okay. I just want Isaac to hear us.
We didn't have a board meeting. It's not until the fourth Thursday of this month. So I don't know if Justin's received anything or not.
If he has, it hasn't come from me. So I'll make sure that we get that from Canyon Regional staff. I don't have direct personal knowledge about the funding other than what you've been told, which is that these are San Marcos funds. We're not dipping into any proceeds from any other component of the CRWA budget, but we'll get that information.
But it was a question more about, you just kind of wanted to see like how some of those funds had been expended in the past for the last 5 years or so. So we have that all on a breakdown. I actually have it, so I'll send it to you. I have your email.
I don't think we did send it to Justin, and I apologize for that. But we will get it to you as soon as possible.
But he didn't say that he received it.
I apologize for that.
The third active lawsuit that I'm working on is the claims that we've asserted against Tri-Hydro. Those are also pending in the Guadalupe County District Court. We had a hearing about 3 weeks ago on a motion by the electrical subcontractor and the general contractor to get out from under or dismiss the third-party claims that were asserted against them by Tri-Hydro. So to clarify this, Canyon Regional asserted originally a claim against Tri-Hydro as the engineer, alleging an engineering design defect. The engineering firm in turn asserted claims blaming the electrical contractor, the electrical subcontractor, and the general contractor. Those parties filed a motion for summary judgment seeking to have the court dismiss the claims to shift blame over to them. The court granted those motions, but in the interim, Tri-Hydro amended its third-party petition and also alleged that those subcontractors had, by filing the claim, had caused reputational harm to Tri-Hydro. Because that amendment came in after the time the motion was pending, the court didn't address that. That is now presently before the court, and it's my expectation that she's going to dismiss that too. We're still set for mediation in May. In that case, we're still set for trial in July, and I'm working with the CRWA litigation committee as that case is developing. As Carrie mentioned, or any questions on that?
I think I remember, but I don't want to say. Are you able to remind me who the electrical subcontractor was?
I am. It's G&M Electric.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say and be incorrect.
Yes,
And
yeah, the general is Shannon Monk, and G&M is the subcontractor. As Carrie mentioned, we finally were able to put to rest the amendment with Mr. Bloomberg. His attorney and he and Carrie and I had a meeting today, and it's the same room that David Davenport and I met with this same gentleman back in 2014 when we got the lease signed the first time. And so all these years later, we're all a lot older. Carrie is new to the party, but the rest of us remember how fun it was the first time. You will notice that the version of the lease that was handed out to you tonight is missing a couple of those signatures. One of them is Mr. Bloomberg's wife. The other is Frost Bank, which is a trustee for one of their family trusts. Mr. Bloomberg has those. He's promised to personally get those executed by those other lessors and return the fully executed document to us. As is always the case with them, it was a complex negotiation. It was a long-term negotiation. We think that it works well for everybody, and today's meeting, which was wholly unnecessary, ended up being somewhat productive. I think that it did a lot to benefit the relationship. I think that he and Carrie have a pretty good synergy, and that's something that we've needed with a strategic ally like Mr. Bloomberg for quite some time. So I'm happy that this is before you tonight to ratify. I'm happy to take questions on that or any other legal matters.
Ruben?
No legislative, but a small legal matter. There are times when several or perhaps more of you as trustees will serve an unexpired term of a prior board member. And the question has come up as to whether that would work against you in terms of the 5 consecutive terms that you can serve. And the answer is no. So you could serve the unexpired term, whether it be 1 month or it could be literally almost up to the 2 years, and continue with another 5 2-year terms.
Thank you, sir. I asked Ruben to look into that because we do have a number of trustees getting closer. Doris, you've only got, I think, 1 more after this one. And I know, Ted, you got another year or so, and Martin and others. So I asked him to take a look at that because I thought that we needed a pretty clear answer on that question on unexpired terms.
Let me also add that when you're at the end of your 10 years, if that's the only thing you do, or 10 years plus whatever unexpired term, you can't just leave the board. According to Article 16, Section 17 of the Texas Constitution, you have to serve. You have to serve until your successor is actually chosen and takes the oath. Want to make sure you know that. And that term doesn't relate to the next term. It relates to the back.
Okay. Other questions for Ruben? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff, for your.
I've got one more thing.
Okay.
Starting tomorrow, we're planning on going fully to the Canyon Regional emails. So we sent out the pretty detailed instructions. If anybody has any issues with it, please give us a call. Okay. Oh, is it still? Okay. Okay, I'll make sure we get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so start checking that at least once a month on the Friday before the board meetings, please, so you can get your packets. Okay, then we'll move on to item 8C, Committee and Board of Managers reports. We'll have a discussion on the meetings held by the Executive Budget, Construction, Contract Review Committees, and the Board of Managers. I do know that I need to add, Danetta, your committee in here for legislative affairs as well, so it's on the agenda. We'll start with the Executive Committee. Executive Committee met last week to discuss this agenda as we typically do. Nothing of concern came out of that meeting. Budget Committee met. I'll let you speak on the Budget Committee meeting that happened here a few weeks ago, Sherry.
So our last budget meeting, we discussed 2 things. We reviewed the audit report, and then we also reviewed and discussed the disbursement of the funds from the FY 2025 budget. I know tonight we're going to vote on approving the audit, and the Budget Committee would like to recommend approval of the audit. Our next meeting, and as far as the disbursement of the funds, we're still doing discussion. Joan and I guess possibly the new controller will be coming up with how they want to present the leftover disbursement of the funds from the 2025 budget. And that'll be discussed at our next meeting, which is on February the 23rd at 10:30 a.m. if anybody wants to come.
Questions for the Budget Committee? Construction Committee?
We don't have a meeting until the 24th, so.
Thank you. Contract Review Committee didn't meet. Board of Managers?
Yeah, good evening, trustees. I'll be quick tonight. So thankfully, the staff covered several topics that we talked about at the Board of Managers already, so I'll just skip that part. We did on the 4th, we did tour the Wells Ranch treatment facility this time. So we've been to all 3 now, so that was good. So our next meeting is in March. And, you know, a couple of things that are coming up, we're kind of discussing it when David was talking about some of the maintenance items that is ongoing. You know, Mr. Ramos noted, you know, like right now, we're not taking all of our water. Some entities, included me, including several of us, aren't. So the concern is that we have maintenance problems that need to be addressed, because one of these days we're going to be taking 100% of our water. So, I mean, it's very important to do. That's going to require the staff to bring forth, you know, some listings of projects so the Board of Managers can get in front of the Budget Committee and help recommend, you know, a dollar figure to get in next year's budget. I think that'll be helpful. The one recommendation we have for the staff or for the trustees tonight is we recommended and we discussed having a meeting between the entities for the future Wells Ranch 3, whatever they may become, but really is the massive leases that Chelsea kind of showed the map of and how we're going to address that. We talked about that meeting. Doesn't need to be a Board of Managers. It doesn't need to be the Board of Trustees. It needs to be the entities with the staff. So we can really talk about what's required. You know, what each entity is required and what they want to do. Because ultimately, we got to figure out how to keep paying for these things by the 1st of June, I think, is when the next lease payments are due. So that's why that's important. So we recommended that. Carrie's already on it. I think that meeting would be very good if Chelsea has all that information to help us really take an educated look along with the cost of what everyone is paying for those things. But anyways, that's our recommendation. That's all I have. Put any of your questions.
Questions for the Board of Managers? Thank you, sir. Okay, we move on to item 9, general business. 9A, presentation of fiscal year 2025 audit and discuss, consider, and take possible action on resolution 260203, accepting and approving the fiscal year 2025 audit. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Kimberly Roach. I'm actually one of the shareholders at Armstrong Bond and Associates. As many of you probably are aware, but we actually rotated our audit partner in charge actually for the FY24 audit. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the presentation last year to present the audit, but so this is my 2nd year in charge of this particular audit. So I just want to hit a couple of highlights for you this evening. We did issue what's called an unmodified opinion. That basically just means it's a clean opinion. We do have a few adjustments that we proposed to the authority, but of course those were signed, reviewed, and approved by Joan. And so in many of the adjustments that we proposed are very routine and expected. So they're typically year-end type of adjusting entries, a lot of them related to either depreciation or certain accruals that are just typically not recorded throughout the year. Any questions on that aspect so far? Okay. Well, if you'll turn in your audit reports to page 10, I apologize, I don't know what the electronic pages would be in your board packets, but essentially this would be your statement of net position as of September 30th, 2025.
Page 103.
Thank you, sir. While you're going to that page, I do want to go ahead and also mention that we also go through and we also want to make sure that we have an understanding of the entity's internal controls and make any recommendations if we see that there's any that that we feel like need to be made. And I'm happy to report that based on the internal controls of the entity, we did not see any recommendations at this time that were necessary to implement. So looking at this particular report, you'll see that you had total assets of 189 million, just shy of 190 million. Certainly the majority of that is within the capital assets. That particular number of just shy of 140 million would be after any accumulated depreciation on the related projects. I did want to just mention a couple of comparisons to the FY24. Overall, your total assets did go up about 7 million from the prior year. That's not necessarily going to be within the audit, but just it's just for comparison purposes. The majority of that increase actually went into your actual cash, your unrestricted cash. We did see a decline in your restricted cash, but that was related to construction, and it was just the use of those previously approved bond proceeds, primarily for the Hayes Caldwell project. In addition to an increase in your total assets, you also had a decline in your total liabilities. Obviously, that would be primarily due to the payments that are made on the bonds each year. That was a decrease from the prior year of about 10 million, and all of that left you with an increase of your net position of about 16.4 million compared to the previous year. So here in just a minute, we'll look at your revenues and expenses and kind of see how you also managed to increase that. But those were the primary changes on your statement of net position within your assets and liabilities. Any questions on that particular item? Okay. Then moving to page 11, which should just be the next page. You'll see there that you had total operating revenue of just shy of 30 million. Total operating expenses of just over 20 million, which left you an operating income before depreciation of 9.5 million. And so basically that would represent how the entity is doing as far as just within operations. The reason why we separate out depreciation just below that is that's not going to necessarily be cash out the door. That would be any depreciation, the recognition of the depreciation on the assets that have already been purchased and put into service. So you can see even after your depreciation, you had a positive net income of just shy of 5 million. You additionally had non-operating revenue and expenses, and that's related to the entity payments that comes from the member entities specifically for the debt. And then of course the interest income that your investments are earning, less the interest expense that is paid out on the bonds and related debt that you have. So overall, your total change in net position, as I mentioned before, was right at 16.4 million. Any questions on any of that? Well, one last page I was going to have you flip to. If you'll turn to, again, I apologize, it's page 33 in the actual audit report. I do not know what electronic page that would be. I guess about 20 pages down or so. There.
126.
126. So this particular page is going to be a little bit different from the presentation we just showed because we've had to make some adjustments for this particular item to be on a budgetary basis. So there is actually a reconciliation on the following page, but primarily this presentation is simply to compare how the entity budgets compared to how those actuals came through. So you can see that your revenues were just shy of what you had actually budgeted. Your operating expenses were actually significantly less than what had been budgeted. Primarily that was related in your treatment plant operating expenses, which also includes the repair and replacement funds. So that was the main area we saw that you came in under your final budget. And so of course, as we had already kind of heard a little bit earlier based on the budget committee and some of the other discussions, it sounds like there may be a little bit more discussion on what to do with some of those unspent funds or that excess from FY25. But just to clarify right now, primarily that is sitting in your unrestricted net position. Anything related specifically to the membrane projects, those are kept restricted, but pretty much everything else, the general repair and replacement, all of that would be in your unrestricted net position. So are there any other questions? That's pretty much everything I had for you.
Questions on the presentation? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a recommendation from the budget committee who also reviewed this in detail at a budget committee meeting we had earlier in January. They have a recommendation that the budget be approved. Do I have a motion or do I have any more discussion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the audit. Is there any other discussion? Isaac, are you good in the internet world? You can just give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the topic?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes,
First,
sir.
thank you for the budget committee for reviewing this. But more importantly, I'd like to thank Joan. I think this is maybe the 19th budget, 19th audit that's come clean. So thank you very much, Joan, for all the work you've done. And I know it takes a lot to do these audits and because it's very important that we get a clean audit. And again, thank you, Budget Committee, and thank you, Joan.
Oh, here you go.
for
All right,
getting
Joan,
this
I was
done.
looking for you. Yes, thank you. That, great point. Thank you, Joe. 19, that's very good. Thank you for your comments. And thank you to staff for the work you did and the budget committee. Yes, we thank the budget committee for this too. Okay. All right, everyone. Without any further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passed. Okay, let me move back up to my agenda real quick and we'll move on to the second item. Okay, item 9B. Discuss, consider, and take possible action on a resolution 260204 amending the Alliance Regional Water Authority fiscal year 2026 budget.
So this item is to address an error that was made in the allocations for the payments that Canyon Regional makes to Alliance Regional. After the budget was developed, when it came time to make the first payment, it was discovered that the allocations were wrong to each of the member entities. So this amendment is to correct that issue. It doesn't change the amount that Canyon Regional is paying to Alliance Regional. So it didn't require any kind of resolution at Alliance Regional. It just changes the allocations as shown in the packet for our member entities. The total amount, I believe, is around $50,000 spread amongst all four entities. I think the biggest increase to any one per month is around $3,000. But there is, it resulted in a decrease to the monthly allotment or the monthly payment from Crystal Clear, and then correlating increases to the other entities to your monthly payments.
So I have one quick comment. I don't need to dive into it in this meeting. I would ask staff to identify, how the error was made and how to avoid, making the same error in the future, however it happened. No need to dig through it here today. That's, a staff level thing to check on. So
Yeah.
if it happens once, it happens, doesn't need to happen multiple times.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? You've got the numbers in your packet of how the calculation came out. The agenda item, I just want to clarify because it kind of seems a little wonky. It says we're amending the Alliance budget. We're amending the portion of the 2026 fiscal year Canyon Regional budget for the Alliance item of the budget is what's really getting amended here. And that's what the resolution represents that you'll have in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9B as stated by Brandon.
We have a motion and we have a second from Ms. Gonzalez. She beat you. Any other discussion on this topic? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 9C, discuss, consider, and take possible action on resolution 260205 approving the ratification of the amendment to the lease agreement between CRWA, Elmore D. Bloomberg, Frostbank, trustee of the Elmore Daniel Bloomberg Trust, UWO, Jane Weinert B. Bloomberg, Elmore Daniel Bloomberg, and Karen Bloomberg, co-trustees of Jordan T. Bloomberg 1994 Trust and Jordan T. Bloomberg for Guadalupe County, Texas. As you may remember, the board authorized Carrie to negotiate and execute the amendment. This is now the cleanup of us approving and ratifying that action. If you need more discussion, let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion to ratify.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Keith.
I'll second.
Got a second from Michael. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passed. Thank you. Item 9D, discuss, consider, and take possible action on resolution 260206, accepting nominations for CRWA representative to be appointed to the Alliance Regional Water Authority Board of Directors and appointing a representative selected by vote of the CRWA Board of Trustees. And so you may remember the way Alliance works is Canyon Regional appoints members to the Alliance Board. Historically, we've tried to put on a trustee from each of the participating SUDs, just so they kind of have a voice on the board. And my recommendation is to continue that practice. Regina was the representative for Crystal Clear. Obviously, she is no longer with Crystal Clear. She's here with Canyon Regional. she could stay on, but, I think to go with our historical precedent, we should honor Crystal Clear's wishes, and I believe they've indicated they would like Mike to be appointed. Again, that's up to us, but we're ready to accept nominations for the Alliance position.
I'd like to nominate Mike.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations?
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay. We understand that we are appointing Mike Saldana to the Alliance Regional Water Authority Board to represent Canyon Regional. Any other discussion on the topic? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
And welcome.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay. Item 9E, discuss, consider, and take possible action on amending the CRW Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, administrative policies to include a policy on hiring past and present appointed CRWA board members and hiring past and present appointed CRWA board member, immediate family members at CRWA. You may remember we talked about this item last month. It was my fault for leaving that language off. That language is in your packet. It's the very last page. It would go into the section in the administrative policies that talks about, I'm sorry, I can't remember, Ruben, if that was 3.7. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was one in there. This would be placed in the administrative policies if this is voted on and approved.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, who wrote the language?
The language came from Mr. Ramos.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to recommend that you can all discuss it tonight, deliberate on it tonight, but I would recommend that we not actually adopt this language because it needs to be polished a little bit more. How's that? I want to tweak it.
Ruben, have you reviewed this?
I was trying to be nice. Yes, sir. I would like to
review this previously or just now?
I saw it today for the first time.
Because I thought we discussed having this sent to you at the last Board of Trustees meeting for review before it got into our packet.
Yeah, I just saw it today. So, but I looked at it and it seems to confuse consanguinity and affinity and all that. And so I'd like an opportunity to be able to just work on it a little bit.
Do we need to table this? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, sir. I mean, we can discuss it, but I'd rather not approve it tonight, this specific language. Are you comfortable with the concept of the language? That's great.
Well, I'm a little frustrated because we talked about it a month ago that it was going to be on this month's packet. And you specifically asked, you hadn't seen it, didn't know about it. And you should have seen it before tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Point taken. Thank you, sir.
Can we approve it subject to?
No.
Since I'm the one who brought it up, I agree with you, Nicholas. I thought my understanding was they were going to review it. It wasn't included in the last, and they were going to go back. And so, I don't want to apologize on their behalf, but I think to be prudent with this board, we probably need to table it, and I'll make the motion to table it and have them review it and come back with the language.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and second to table this and come back with the language next month, and to come back with the language next month that you feel comfortable with. And then I guess at this point we got a motion, so we're not going to discuss it anymore. I would just, suggest we also evaluate 1 year instead of 2 years, but we can discuss that next month. Any other discussion on this topic? Okay, all those in favor say aye for tabling. Aye. Any opposed? All right, items tabled for 1 more month and 1 more month only.
Ruben, be ready.
Okay, let me jump back up in my agenda. Okay, item 9F, discuss reducing the number of members of the Board of Trustees from 22 to 11. So, just right away, this is a discuss only topic. It does not have an action component. No action we could take even if we wanted to take action on it. I think it's too big of a topic to have at one meeting and then take a vote on. I brought this up only in that there are 22 of us. I'm not quite sure if we need to continue with each member entity having 2 representatives. I don't quite frankly see how it makes a lot of sense. If you've got 1, doesn't really matter if you have 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just the same amount of representation. I went back and kind of legislative or enabling act to try and see how did we end here? How did we end up with this many trustees? And we actually started with 3 trustees per member entity first. I couldn't imagine that today. But there were only 4 of us back then. It was East Central, Green Valley, Springs Hill, and Crystal Clear. So it was 4, 3 each, 12-person board. Makes a little bit of sense. Still a little bit big, but makes a little bit of sense. And actually, very shortly after that, we had an amendment to the act. In fact, I think it was the very next session that actually gave us the ability to reduce that number from 3 to 2. And in the discussion, it was this very discussion. We're adding people, we're considering adding people to Canyon Regional. As we do so, 3 trustees each is going to get to be a giant board. You know, we need to have that ability to reduce down. And we got that approved. Then we went back again and asked for the ability to move down, instead of from just 3 to 2, down to 2 to 1 by resolution. And so this authority is here in this room. By resolution, we can act on this and we can reduce the amount of trustees per each member entity. So just opening it up for some discussion. You know, if there's just significant opposition, you know, let's talk through it a little bit. But I do think it may be beneficial. I mean, at last meeting, we had what I thought was 6 vacancies. Fortunately, we've got 2 now here from Crystal Clear. We're still missing 1 from Springs Hill. We now have 1 from Martindale, and now we have Isaac on here, but I'm not quite sure about Jeremiah. And so I just thought that this was a good time to have this discussion.
Can there be an alternate?
That's a great question, and I didn't set you up for that one, but that in my mind, that in my mind is one way. You know, from some of the discussions I've had with trustees, one of the concerns is, what happens if I can't be here? I'm not here. Yeah, exactly. You've got 1 here, or you know, like for Martindale now. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that's something that warrants a little bit further evaluation. I didn't feel comfortable going to legal and saying, hey, go do all this research for Brandon's item if there's no support for Brandon's item, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, if there is future discussion on this and y'all are interested, we can look at that. I do think an alternate makes a lot of sense, so that there's at least always 2, someone who can come in and step in if you're gone. Yes, sir.
I'd like to bring up the fact that I've been involved in many boards. I'm sure everyone has. And typically you reduce boards because you can't make a quorum. I think up to this point, we've always made a quorum. And so peeling back and asking everyone to just come with 1 representative, I'm not in favor of that. I'd like to do, you know, if we're going to consider that, let's consider something else. Possibly, why don't we consider how much water each entity is taking and put representation based on that? I mean, because you're only looking at one thing, you're looking at reducing the board. I think a lot of, and I know there's going to be no support for that, but I think we should look at every option, not just reducing the board. I'm fine with 2. I think we've all made a quorum. We've got quite a few members here and they're active. You know, they're in budget committees, they're on this committee, that committee. So yeah, I'm not in favor of reducing the board to 1 representative.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking of here with 22 is just the fact that it kind of undermines the whole process, right? The whole purpose of a motion and second, right? Purpose of a motion and second is to build consensus. This item could have been an action item, and I could have come here on the way here and said, Mark, I need you to second my motion and make this an action item and force a vote. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense that I should be able to force a vote and East Central should be able to force a vote here. And so to me, it was a little bit of, you know, how we conduct ourselves here at this meeting and, you know, preserving the integrity of that and not being able to have 2 people from the same system be able to push their ideas onto this board for a vote. That was a little bit about it too. We can explore, you know, representation based on contracts. We can explore a few different things. But I just thought it warranted a discussion at this point. I think we're at a good juncture. We've lost a number of very long-term trustees. We have a number of long-time trustees who are going to be leaving. Now sounded like a good time to talk about what to do and if we should move from 2 to 1 since we have that authority.
I think it's probably logical to reduce the size. It's the board's kind of unwieldy as big as it is. The only concern I have is how would we be able to fill committee positions? Because we have a difficult time filling them now with 22 active members. That would be my one and only concern.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've thought a lot about that too. Filling committees has been difficult.
Is there any restriction on committee members being members of the Board of Trustees?
You mean how many, oh, you mean, can committee members come from outside of the Board of Trustees? I think it depends on the authority that the full board grants to the committee is where it starts getting tricky. So construction committee, you and I've talked about this, we've got someone who was on the Board of Managers was on the construction committee. And the construction committee has some latitude. This board allows them to authorize change orders and have those change orders executed before it even comes to this board, depending on how big they are. And, having someone who is not a trustee being able to make a decision that binds you, you've given the construction committee that authority. When it comes here, you've got to ratify it. But you're having people who may not be trustees make that decision. I think that's where it probably gets a little bit challenging. Any other comments, discussion, run me out of the room?
Just in general, good suggestions, from the other side of the room here. In general, I get your idea of trying to make this board operate better, I think is the intent. Whether it be exactly what you suggest or exactly what any of the other suggestions come along, I would be interested in hearing. I think you're looking for consensus as to whether we can start having some of the attorneys review if we can do this and how we do that. Is that correct?
Yes. But before I started directing legal to go down a route that most of you may not have wanted, if we came in here and it's just adamant no by everybody and no, we don't want to hear anything more, I didn't feel it was my place to start directing legal staff down a path.
I feel like it's a worthwhile discussion to have next month or subsequent months, whenever is appropriate, with some background by the attorneys saying, yes, we can do this, or no, we can't do that. And I think they've heard some of the suggestions and some of the questions that we've had, and I'm not going to direct them to go spend money either, but in my opinion, it's worth having a longer discussion about with some backup information.
What it can look like. Okay.
One of the options we may have for having a non-board member, a non-trustee on a committee would be making sure that the percentages were right, so that a non-trustee couldn't force a decision. So it may be 2 to 3, something like that.
Alternates.
Yeah.
They could be committee members.
Can you use your mic unless you're just talking to me, but.
I'm just talking to you, really.
I think he's asking, exploring the alternates is what he was suggesting to me.
Committee members.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great point. The alternates is potential committee members.
My question is how would we work it? It couldn't be something we could do immediately because some of us are still in the middle of our term. So how would you make that happen?
Yeah, I think this is not a go flip a switch tomorrow and half of us are gone. And I say that I have no idea what East Central will do. This has not been an East Central discussion. I may not be here
But
if we do this.
we rotate every May. So that means you've got new people that are going to come in that are going to start their 2-year term. So, I mean, it's an alternate thing. We have ongoing people who are coming and going. So I'm just not sure how you would make that happen unless if we decided to go with that, when your term's over, you drop off.
So, yeah, I don't know if you could do it that way, because then you would end up having kind of a strange number, right? Like you drop off and now Green Valley may have lost one, but then someone else may still be on, depending on who's going to be on the long term. So I think those are all things to work out. Again, I have not gone through the whole endeavor of what's legal, how can we do it this way, that way. I really wanted to just have this kind of discussion and get some of those concerns so we have some answers to those questions. It won't be easy to me. It would have to be in May. And we would have to know in advance. I don't think that any of us can make that decision for May 2026. I don't think there's enough time to inform the entities that, hey, we may drop down to 1. And so who you select in May is who's going to be here and the other term's going to drop off. I think it takes a little bit more coordination than we can get done by May.
With regards to using an alternate, I would question the ability to have continuity. Because they're not going to be here all the time. So they're not part of the discussion this week at this meeting, and the next meeting we're going to take a vote.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's how it sounds at the courthouse. It works just like that.
I think to keep the conversation going, I think it's prudent upon everybody to go back to their boards and talk about what Canyon Regional is willing to do or not willing to do, considering to do. So for instance, City of Cibolo, go back, City of Cibolo is saying, you know, we only have one representation.
Yeah.
Green Valley, the same thing. How do you feel about that as a board? Because at the end of the day, I think, you know, Canyon Regional should honor what the boards of the other utilities want. And certainly you, Mr. President, because you may not be here.
Yeah.
As you state, I mean, stick your neck out. Don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's prudent if that's what you want, go ask for it.
Okay. So I have some general direction. I can explore this a little further with some of the questions and concerns you had, and you won't chop my head off next month. Okay. Again, this is just a discussion item. There's no action here. There's no direction it needs to be taken. I understand the discussion. Any other discussion on this topic? Okay. Item 10, we do not need an executive session. Item 11, we do not have to return to an open meeting. Item 12, future board member agenda items. We'll have the language on the admin policy. We may have this topic again that we just discussed. It may be another month. What else do we have? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to discuss approving the credit card policy.
Credit card policy. Okay. Anything else? Can you use your mic, please? Can you use your mic, please?
At one time, we talked about with policies and procedures, which I gave to Carrie, and I don't think we've ever discussed them, that we never did get them back. You were going to revise them or something? Have you done that? Yeah, yeah.
Any other items? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I've got a bunch of motions to adjourn. We are adjourned.